So it says here, boys, we are live. So first of all, I want to thank you both for taking the time out, as I know you say Mondays are the days that you are working on the project. I believe the project that's behind you is the project that you've allocated for Mondays.
Yes, it's a shop built bike. That way we don't piss
That's
off our
incredible.
customers and use shop time for our bikes instead of theirs. And most of
Well,
our
that's it, isn't
customers.
it? Like we said earlier, it's definitely a good problem to have, isn't it? That you guys are really busy with project bikes and having to try and find time for your own projects. So I mean, so where did where did it all start with bikes? You know, obviously you guys have had a business together for 20 years, but obviously where did it start before that?
So it started in 1982. In 1982, me and my two buddies used to go over to a girl's house that was a cheerleader at the local high school. But we were more enthralled with the dad because the dad had a old Thunderbird and he had a couple of old Virago motorcycles. And we would go to her house to swim after school. And the dad would always come in the house and go, "Hey, boys, you guys want to ride the motorcycle?" And we would go
Oh, that's
ride the
cool.
motorcycle. That's kind of how it started. And then after all that went through, I got a 1985 Honda Interceptor 500. And we used to
Okay.
race up and down the mountains in New Mexico with me and a couple of my buddies. And we had some Ninjas and some GSXR 750s and RZ 350, the Kenny Roberts edition, yellow and black. And
Nice.
we used to ride up through the mountains around South 14 up out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And then go race South Eubank.
Yeah.
So go drag strip down South Eubank like you see in old hot rod movies. I mean, that's how it was. Cars down the side, somebody dropping the flag in the middle, and the two bikes or the two cars or the car and the bike.
Yeah, it was awesome.
They take off. So
No, that's incredible.
We used to watch guys wreck all the time, and so then one day I had an epiphany, man. I was like, man,
we were out here in Texas.
We were in Texas, and I was like, man, I'm gonna get me like an old black, loud, obnoxious, oil spitting Harley, man. And that was in 1989-ish when we started talking about that.
He said that we were at a party, and he said that, and I was like, yes. So it was on from there, man. I mean,
we had
it was on.
So we tried to buy new Harleys. We tried to go to the dealership and get the guy to work us a deal, and it was hard to show our income because we worked in bars and there was hard to show our income. So after a while, we were like, man, we're never going to be able to afford these. They're not going to give us a loan. So let's see what else we can do. So we fell into old shovel heads, and that kind of started it. Yeah. And it's a good thing we did, because if we would have bought those, I think I wanted a Heritage Softail, and I think maybe a Fat Boy or something at the time.
You wanted the Heritage Softail Classic, and I wanted the Heritage Softail.
Yeah, and my buddy bought the old silver
the 1990
Ghost
Fat Boy,
the silver one with the yellow rings, and so. But if we would have bought those bikes, I'm not sure we'd be sitting here today.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think that maybe we would have been like, hey, let's ride, and then we would have rode for a while. Maybe we would have got into cars or something. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we bought old shovel heads meant that we were in the garage every weekend wrenching. Mm-hmm. And our next door neighbor was an old guy that had a shovel head, and he'd come over and talk to us about shit. His name was Vern. Old Vern would come over and, man, boys, come on over next door. Let me show you what I got. And then, you find these mentors as you go along. Mm-hmm. But I do think if we didn't buy old shovel heads way back in the 89, 90 era, mm-hmm. we wouldn't be sitting here. I don't think we would have ever been into building bikes as much as we would have maybe just been riding them and, hey, let's ride to Sturgis or something like that.
Well, he bought a 76 FLH, which was a Shriner's bike. At the time, it only had 3,000 miles on it original, and it was in mint condition. And back then, I think you paid $5,000 for it.
$4,800.
$4,800 for it. So that was a lot back then. So I actually had my eye on a 69 pan shovel at Dave Best Harley Davidson. This was before Harley Davidson could actually, be a small outfit. Now they're the conglomerate where you have to have a building size and certain amount of clothing, and they don't even do their sales the same, like typical sales on a bike. And
Dave's Harley shop was in strip mall.
Yeah, it was in a strip mall. So I went down there, and he had this just cherry 69 pan shovel. It was blue. And
So what?
chrome everywhere.
Sorry to interrupt. So when you say pan shovel, what is it? I don't actually. What is a pan shovel? Is it a pan frame, the shovel engine, or is it?
Well, it's basically a shovel head frame. It looks like a shovel head, but the lower end is a pan head, and the top end is the shovel head. So it was the crossover. So 66, 67, 68, and 69 were all the pan shovel years. And so he was selling that bike, and I used to go down there and just drool over it. But he was selling that bike for like $5,500 or $6,000, and I couldn't afford it. And so I had finally saved enough money to go down and buy that bike. And I went down there with that money sitting in my pocket to go buy it. And I got down there and I was looking at it, and I was like, shit, I'm never going to want to take that thing apart and cut it up and do shit to build it into, something cool. And so I kind of looked, and he had another bike on consignment, which was an old 74 FL, and had a big old dent in the fender. But I was like, hey, I said, tell me about this bike, Dave. And he's like, it's on consignment. And so,
but you had bought a 69
well,
iron head before that, right?
I had an iron head, but so this old shovel head, I ended up working a deal with him, and I got it, and I actually still own that bike today. 34 years later.
Oh, that's insane, and it seems to be like a common pattern. Like when people start off with jack bikes or whatever they kind of get their hands on, and they get their hands on a Harley of some sort, and it kind of seems to just create this almost like this unexplainable connection with them. Like you said, like obviously messing around with shovels and things like that. Not you cutting your teeth on them, as a few of you Americans like to say. I listened to a few podcasts from and like a lot of people say about like the iron heads, like that was where you truly cut your teeth and learn how to keep it on the road. And that's awesome. I just looked down at the. Sorry, mate.
I was going to tell you. So we back then, we worked in bars at night. So what we would do is like all week, if we wanted to do changes to our bikes, we'd collect parts all week, and then we'd store the parts in our rooms. And then on Sundays we were off, so we'd order pizzas and go into the garage and work on our bikes. And we ended up doing some really cool stuff with bikes, and our friends started really kind of digging into the passion that we had for them. And so then before you know it, we're looking for bikes for all our friends, and we're helping our friends build bikes. And
we have a good buddy named Herb, and Herb, we were riding. So we used to all work out together. So we'd go to the gym, and we would ride to the gym, and it would be like Steve and Anthony and my brother and me and Jay, and everybody's riding to the gym. And Herb was always like, man, I want to ride with you guys, man. So he says, you guys ride the bikes over to my house. Let me show my dad these bikes. And my dad would love this. So we ride over to Herb's house, and his dad goes, yeah, those are old Harleys. Those are beautiful, boys. And he goes, Herb, there's an old motorcycle in the backyard under that tarp. And Herb goes, what? And we go in the backyard, and buried in the ground, man, what year is it, 77?
77.
He had an old 77 shovel head sitting in the backyard under a tarp, buried in the mud.
No way.
Buried.
Oh, that is insane.
Yeah, so we pulled that thing out of the mud and painted it Lexus Pearl White.
Yeah, with red
flames. With red candy apple flames. That was the key, man. I wanted Lexus Pearl White, brother, with candy apple red flames.
Now you got to understand though, Herb used to wrestle professionally.
He was
and he kind of had the persona of the Freebird, so it was always like, yeah, brother, yeah, bro, let's go ride, brother.
Awesome.
Yeah,
but his dad had that bike under a tarp,
and it was literally halfway buried in mud.
We had to dig it out. And we got that bike up and running for him. So that's kind of how it's been rolling, man. Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah.
And I guess obviously this is all happening in Texas. Like, is that right?
Texas.
And
This
I'm,
is
and I'm
early
so-
early 90s.
and it's pretty much dry. Yeah, everything's dry there. So obviously, you digging it out the ground, it's still probably. I'm assuming it's still in a fairly good condition.
Oh yeah, bro. It was dirt and leaves, and I mean, it was the whole thing had to be taken apart and redone. But it
Yeah.
was, but the idea
But
that
it wasn't.
he had
It wasn't
one,
rot. It wasn't a rotting frame or anything. So in the UK,
No,
that bike would be rotting. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. And the fact that his dad even had one, and the fact that his dad even knew that he had one sitting in the backyard was incredible. And the look on Herb's face when he realized that he had a bike sitting there was incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But yeah, we started riding and getting bikes for friends, and then we just always, the passion always kind of lived within my brother and I, and a few years later, ended up moving to LA and kind of got into the little bit of the motorcycle scene in LA in about '94, and met another cat. His name was Steve Hirsch.
Well, we met Joe Cox before that.
Yeah. Well, that was out here in Texas.
Joe Cox owned a Harley dealership out here also, and then he was probably our first and maybe Steve was probably the biggest mentor, but Joe was close.
Our first mentor.
And Joe would I would go down to Joe's shop, and my bike would be at Joe's shop, and so every afternoon I would drive down to his shop, which was about a 40-minute drive, and we would talk about what are we doing, what are we building, and he would go, well, we're going to build this license plate, and he would basically make one in about 30 minutes, and I go, yeah, Joe, man, that's perfect, bro, let's use that, and Joe would throw it in the trash. He'd go, okay, now go build one.
Wow.
That's how he taught us. But and we messed up a lot of shit. But basically, he was like, you see what we did? Remember what we did and this and that. And Joe actually talked like this. Joe would say, okay, here's the license plate frame right here, brother. And we're going to go ahead and we're not going to use this one. He'd throw it right in the trash. And he'd go, okay, now go make one.
That's incredible.
Get yourself one. Yeah.
It kind of like when I built my first bike in 1983 Suzuki with my dad, and I was polishing all the casings and everything, because flattening them off by hand, taking off all the paint and everything, and then polishing them. And my dad did this. He did the stanchions on the front forks on his bike, and he come up and he got the machine out, zapped it all down with the machine, got the drill out with a polishing head on it, and just polished these forks. And he did so from start to finish. He did them in about 3 hours. Right. Whilst it takes me days to do mine, and I'm like, why can't I do it like that, Dad? And he's saying to me, you have to learn how to feel the metal. And obviously, I'm a 15-year-old kid sat in the garage going, this is bullshit.
Right.
But I get it now. I get it,
So we used to do a program here at the shop called Build Your Own Bike. And so you would basically buy a bike from us, and you would come to the shop on the times that you could come, and we would build your bike with you. And it was kind of like a pay it forward a little bit, right? Like, not only are you going to build a bike and we like the business, but we're going to teach you the ins and outs of it. And I'm not talking about the structural welding and things like that, but the building parts and the filing, like you talked about, filing off things and polishing and that kind of stuff.
And thinking
through, how did this go together?
Yeah.
How did, we have a tendency, you can't see my hand, but I think of everything like this. Okay. So it's not just X and Y. We add the third to it. So everything thinks like this around.
Yep.
And so we try to teach that to these guys. And so there was one guy that
how
used
did
to
he do that? Wait, hold on. Hold
No,
wait, that's not the right one. Wait, how does he do? I'm trying. Man, I still haven't figured that shit out.
So this guy would come to the shop every Saturday, and the biggest piece of his build was filing off some of the crap on his frame. But we didn't let him use the power tools. We made him do it by hand.
Yeah.
Everything was filed by hand. And he got so frustrated at it. One day he went out and bought new files. Like, he bought himself his own set of brand new metal files. But that guy used to come into the shop, and for hours at a day, he would just be filing off tabs. And that's
he got good at it. I tell you what, he got good at it.
So
he got good at it. He got to the point where he could file the shit out of metal very smooth and very even.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's like they say that you could be the worst person at something, but if you go week in, week out, or day in, day out, whatever it is you can do, but if you keep consistent at it, regardless of how long it takes you, you're gonna be good at it a year later, and then a year later you'll be good.
Yeah.
It's
right.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's kind of how building goes too. I mean, back in those days, we had gone, like I said earlier, we had gone to LA and we met another guy named Steve Hirsch who he taught us a lot more about the whole workings of the bike. And the way we met Steve was kind of crazy, really. We had taken a trip out to Newport Beach, and I rode out there. I still have my old 74, and I was like, I'm going to ride. Well, where we were at, Newport was just a straight shot down the 405. So we got out to Newport, and my bike starts messing up. I actually had a fuel leak. I guess one of my bolts on my rocker box had dug into the tank and gave me a fuel leak. Well, all of a sudden I didn't have any gears. I couldn't shift. My transmission wasn't working. I was like, what the fuck? So Jimmy and I are literally on the side of the road trying to take the primary off, looking to make tools on the side of the road to try to get the primary off because we freaking didn't have any tools on us. So we ended up getting the primary off, and not sure why we did that, but got the primary off. But then we realized I had fourth gear. I was like, well, shit, let's get it all back together. I just got to go straight shot up 405. Went up, and so he pushes me. I get the bike started, and I'm running every red light in Newport because I'm in fourth gear. And if I come to first gear, if I come to stop, I'm going to burn out my clutch. And so
Wow.
I'm running every light in Newport. All of a sudden, I see the 405 entrance. I get on the 405. I freaking cruise, like 60 miles up? Was it north?
Yeah.
North back to Sherman Oaks. Get off on the 101, roll around the gas station, and go up and do the apartment and park my bike. So I got home. Well, the next day, I saw that mobile gas station at the corner. I thought, I'll go walk over there and see if
you need a tool.
I needed basically the air to blow off to blast off the compensating sprocket to get everything to get off. And so I walk over there, and it's the guy's like, hey, I was like, I asked the guy, I was like, can you help me out here? I told him what was going on. He goes, oh, you got to talk to Steve. And I was like, okay, who's Steve? He goes, Steve is at lunch. So I'm waiting. All of a sudden, Steve comes back, and now Steve's like this, white guy with slick back, gray hair with a big mustache and a goatee and
Typical California biker
yeah,
looking dude.
yeah.
Man.
And he comes up and he's like,
That's cool,
hey,
man.
hey, what's up? And so I start telling him what's going on. He looks at my bike. He goes, man, that's a 74. That's my favorite year. I was like, fuck, how'd you know that?
You're not supposed to cuss, man.
I can cuss. It's all right. He said,
No, you're cool, man. You're cool. Yeah,
he
you
said
go
I could
for it.
earlier. I got permission.
You got permission.
So yeah. So he goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, bring your bike over here, and I'll blast that stuff off for you. Get your transmission out, bring it over here, and I'll help you. I'll show you how to rebuild it. He goes, but I'll make you a deal. He goes, I'll show you how to rebuild it, but then we got to go over to my shop and get my bike running so we can go ride. I was like,
Wow.
fuck yeah. Wait, where's the camera? Fuck yeah.
And his bike,
Yeah,
was awesome.
His bike was cool.
Like he had deraked his bike. He had a 25-degree, basically a FXFL frame, but he had deraked it.
Yeah.
So he could rip through the canyons easier.
And he had actually a 5
Right,
and a 4.
right, yeah.
He actually had a 5 and a 4 as a transmission as well. And this is 1994. So, this is long before.
So for those like me that don't know what a 5 and a 4 is, what's a 5 and a 4 in the transmission?
It's a 5-speed transmission that fits in a 4-speed frame.
Right. Okay.
And
okay.
so it gives you basically 5 speeds instead of 4 speeds.
5 years.
Yep.
5 gear. It gives you 5 gears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta
No.
help
No.
you out,
I knew
man.
you.
We gotta
I knew
help
what
you
you
out a
meant.
little bit.
We're talking fast.
I knew what you
bro.
meant by the. I knew what you meant by the speed. I just
Yeah.
didn't know. So see some of the Harley terminology. It's like
Well,
I
we
don't
know
want to be
you're
that
from-
guy that's just nodding the head, going, "Yeah, yeah." I would rather ask. You know what I mean?
Well, we know you're from the UK, bro, so it's okay, man. We'll help you out. You can take
Oh, that
shots at us.
sounds
You can take
awesome.
shots at us later, man. We're just fucking douchebag Americans. So
I love it, mate. I love it. It's incredible. It's incredible.
yeah, so we ended up meeting Steve, and man, we really formed, the three of us formed just a really, really great relationship, and he really taught us a lot. Not really about fabrication, just about the workings of bikes, and we rewired our bikes, and we got his bike running, and we rode, and I mean, it was just
He ended up being in my wedding.
yeah, he was in his wedding.
Yeah,
So
like we
Oh,
became
that's
really
cool,
good
yeah,
friends.
it was cool. But he was one of the, you know, a big mentor of ours. And then I ended up coming back to Texas, and you know, we still were into bikes, but you know, just kind of, you know, just riding really, you know. And then I went actually back to New Mexico and was going to college. And then my brother and I were starting to talk about building bikes. And so we would sit on, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember Yahoo Messenger? Where you could
Yes.
actually sit with your headphones on and you could talk to somebody on Yahoo Messenger,
Yeah.
you know,
Long distance.
long
basically.
distance. And so him and I, we started talking. My brother does 3D, he does CAD. So we started, I had this crazy dream one night about building this bike. We called it Junior. And it was just a dream. It was building a 300 front, 300 millimeter front, and a 300 millimeter back. And I dreamed this whole bike in my head. And I was so excited that night. I never slept that night. I was like, man, we got to build this fucking bike. And so I told him the next day, and he got excited about it. So on Yahoo Messenger, he would sit at his computer and go into CAD, and we designed this bike in AutoCAD and do 3D renderings of it. But we would sit on Messenger and talk and go, hey, let's change this, let's do this, let's do that. And we literally built this bike in AutoCAD.
That was in about 2003,
2002. It was about 2002, 2003, somewhere in there.
In fact, I have the drawings for. We're probably the first ones to ever put a 26 and a 30-inch wheel on a bike
in AutoCAD.
In AutoCAD.
Yeah, not on a real bike.
We were talking about using an old Coker rim and getting a spoke company to build us the spokes and have a.
At the time, you could get Coker rims that were larger size like that, and you could get tires too. So
I have those drawings back from like the early 2000s of drop seat frame with a 26-inch front wheel and a Springer front end, and they were really cool, man.
Now there might be guys out here going,
it's crazy to think that that's the style now, isn't it?
But that's the style. Yeah, right.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, but we never brought that.
We never built one.
We never built one, and then they started coming out, but not really that big of a deal. But we started designing bikes like that, and then I graduated from college and knew I was coming back to Texas, and we actually met a guy who kind of helped us get the business started, and we came out and built our first two bikes, and we started the company in 2004. And, we built these first two bikes that finished in early 2005
try to make it to an Easy Rider show in March of 2005. That was our goal.
Yep.
And we started building it. We started building in July, August of 2004.
Yeah.
And we decided we wanted to build two bikes, not one, because one is you're a hobby guy building in your garage, but two is you're going to be a business. And so that was kind of our idea.
Yep.
And the first bike we built was a drop seat, 45-degree raked, 19-inch seat height off the ground. And the second bike we built was 48 inches tall at the neck, raked 25 degrees, like deraked. And those two bikes were way before you've seen anything like that now. Everything at that time was Pro Street,
molded
Pro Street,
and So we basically wanted to build those bikes because we hated the direction of the industry at that time. So we were like, man, let's just go all out and just kind of throw a finger up to the industry on what they're building.
And it was cool because you either loved them or you hated them. There was no middle ground.
Boy, I mean, to tell you what, that definitely was the truth because we got so much hate mail off those two bikes.
Yeah.
People either loved them or hated them. Yeah. But if they hated them, they sent us emails, boy. And we actually created a folder to collect all the hate mail. It was awesome.
You wait till you find out who I am. Sending us email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow! And the thing is, like, hate content, unfortunately, seems to be like some of the best content you get. It's crazy, you know.
It's incredible, man.
But yeah, I mean, those we had a lot of adversity getting to that first show. I ended up having a pretty good accident in the shop on one of the bikes. We had pulled the supports out from underneath it, but it was still strapped down to the table. And my brother had come up with just a killer idea to mount the shifter down on the actual down tube of the bike. that's the tube that comes from the neck and comes down to the bottom
down to
the chassis. So
because the handlebars were coming down at an angle off of
so you're
underneath
just
the top tree.
leaning forward.
And so you're leaning forward, so now you're just right there on your shifter.
Yeah. So he came up with this idea, and it was rad. So we had a friend come over to the shop, and I was like, "Oh man, you got to see this idea!" So I jumped up on the bike, forgetting that the support wasn't under it. And as soon as I sat down, I mean, it was like the oh shit meter hit me, because the bike started going over. I'm on a table that's
3 feet off the ground,
3 feet off the ground and 20 something inches wide. And so the bike started going over, and the strap caught. So then me and the bike and the table all went over. And we were in a room that was kind of next to a cinder block wall. Your first reaction is put your hand up. I'm trying to get my hand up like that, and I literally broke the whole top of my shoulder off.
Oh fuck!
So, pretty fucked up accident. And so I was down for a while. I ended up having to go back to New Mexico and have surgery, and had surgery. And then I came back, and I was like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, man, because my hands were like here. I had good movement of this hand, but this hand was literally stuck here. But knowing that it was stuck here, and knowing that when you TIG weld, you got to be right here, I was like, man, I can weld. And so I got back in the shop, and we started finishing up the bikes, and we finished the 2 bikes for the show. And man, we hit to that first show.
Even though you damaged the bike, you managed to fix it and get it ready.
Yeah, it was in raw. It was in raw form, so we still just knocked out some dents. And
it was just raw metal at the time.
Yeah.
So we managed to fix it and get the bikes done and get to our first show. And man, that was born 3-2 choppers right there.
Yeah.
And then the whole drop seats, was kind of our go-to, and the drop seat really for us, it was just a style we loved. And that actually came from Bourget. A lot of people don't know this, but Bourget, early, before he went to the big aluminum, bikes and all that kind of crap, he actually made some very, very, very sexy drop seat frames out of metal tubing. And a friend of ours actually ended up getting a couple of them.
That thing was badass.
And they were sick. And so, very big influence for us at that time, seeing those frames is really why we got into the drop seat frames.
Just the fact that you could sit in the bike and not on the bike made such a difference visually.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, with
it looks meaner.
Oh my God.
Well,
dude.
with our old shovel heads, we used to always sit on our bikes and always used to tell each other, man, I wish I could sit in the bike.
Right.
Lower. And so, so we, so that was a huge influence for us. That's kind of why we started building the drop seat frames, because, we saw those from Bourget many, many years ago, but they quit producing those. They're out there. There's a few of them out there somewhere. I mean, they sold them. So, but so we kind of went into the drop seat, and we kind of created our own drop seat. But
I would buy one of those
if we found one. Yeah. But we created our own style of drop seat, and so that's kind of been always been our our moving forward style, is we like the drop seat. And with the drop seat though, poses a lot of problems, because you can't get an oil tank really under that drop seat. There's just not a lot of room, and that's why we started hanging the oil bag out on the side, because there was just no room to put it under the seat.
Yeah, and it looks cool. It looks cool as hell on the side, man.
Well, and get any kind of capacity, in an oil tank, which is really, like, with this bike. Well, you can't. Yeah. With this bike here, we did build the oil tank under the seat. So if you go on our Instagram and look at the pictures, you can see it. But that thing holds 2 quarts. We just filled it up. It holds 2 quarts.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're running a remote oil filter, which holds another 3/4 ish quarts. But so we get the capacity there. But that was kind of why we always hung the bags on the outside. There was just no room, and it kind of became a style. And over the years, we've just kind of carved out a style that, when people look at a bike, they know it's ours. There's no doubt about it. There's not a lot of builders in this industry that have forged that kind of, what would you call it?
Style.
That kind of style where you can just look at the bike and go, that's a Jesse James, that's a Billy Lane, that's a 3-2 chopper. Exactly. There's just not a lot of people out there that can, that have created a style, a style of their own. So,
it's even harder in today's society with the fact that we all have access to the internet. But like kind of like going back to like when you got all the hate mail, like. But the reality is now people know straight away it's one of your bikes. It seems to be that the hardest way to go against the grain and to stand your ground might be hard at the beginning, but it's you stick to what you believe in. It stands the test of time, doesn't it?
You know,
Yeah.
Our mantra, just about from day one, man, has always been, and it's on our website. It's always been contribute to the culture, don't exploit it. And what that means to us is there's been so many people that come in and they see a part that they like and then they recreate that part and they say, hey, look what I made. Well, you didn't make it. This other guy made it. Add something. Bring an original thought, man. Come to the table with an original thought. Build something that nobody else has built and then sell it or try to sell it or just have it on your bike that you built it. But don't knock off somebody else's part and then sell them and then go, hey, look what we're selling. You didn't come up with it, and we've always had that. It's always been let's contribute to it. Let's not exploit each other. It's hard enough to make it in this industry without people stabbing you in the back and taking your ideas and things like that. So it's been a big piece of it for us. And you'll notice, like we've never gone to a show where we've taken the same bike twice, ever. We always bring something new, always. Yeah. And I'll never go to a show and go, hey, here's the same bike, here's the same bike, here's the same bike. Yeah. We always try to bring something new.
Yeah, and listen, it's hard for us to get to shows, you know, because we don't normally have bikes. I mean, when we build bikes, they're gone. They're off to customers. So, it's very hard for us also to build something truly like out of our minds custom too, because we just don't have the time. We're busy running a shop, you know.
And we've gotten, after about the 5th year, we've gotten to the point where anything we build, you have to be able to ride it.
Yeah, you have to be able to ride the bike.
You have to be able to ride it. And if you can't ride it, there's no sense in having it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's really like guided us, to what we're kind of doing here at the shop. The biggest thing is just running a shop day to day, parts, customer orders, customer projects, and then trying to figure out where you're going to put the time in to even build something. And we got a lot of ideas of things we want to do, but where do you get the time? And so that's kind of why we're here today on a Monday on our day off, because we finished this bike behind us. We got to the St. Louis show, which was awesome. Being invited to that was really cool. We don't normally get invited to shows, and so with this one we're like, man, we're invited. We're always like, hey, we don't get invited, and we got invited, so let's go.
We're not nice guys.
Yeah, we're dicks. But but yeah, so we were like, man, let's get to it. So we busted hump to try to get this bike done, and we didn't get to quite finish it and get it started before the show. We ran into a few issues, and but we still made it to the show with the bike intact, and it was together. So now we're back on Monday here again, getting ready to get it running. So we're literally waiting for the FedEx guy to show up with our fucking part. So
wow.
But yeah, so but yeah, I mean that's just kind of the way we do it. The biggest thing too, talking about the contribute to the culture and don't exploit it, it also goes down to, if somebody does work for you, don't take credit for yourself that you did the work.
Yeah.
Give the people that did the work for you, give them the credit. Just say thank you. That's all you got to do is just say thank you. And that happens a lot in this industry. You end up, really helping somebody out, and there's just no thanks given. They'll go out publicly and announce all their thanks to all the people they got parts from, but they don't, announce the thank you to the people that really bailed them out. So, and you see parts a lot too, people take credit for parts that they didn't build, and it's kind of a shame that you see that a lot in this industry, but I guess that's just the nature of it. So
I mean, that's
not just this industry. It's
all industry.
Period.
Yeah, it's all industry.
Yeah. I mean, and like for me, like without my friends around me, I never would have been able to do the stuff I've done. I mean, I'm not a fabricator like you guys or a builder. I'm just trying to create something with the budget I have and the ability to I say glue some bits of metal together because my welds look atrocious. But but they work. And yeah, that for me was what I wanted to do with the podcast was. I mean, even though you guys have obviously, you can definitely tell, like we've had a couple of people in the comments, like speaking extremely highly of you guys. We had Tony the engraver saying, "You boys better be wearing my buckles."
Yeah, Tony made us some belt buckles, our logo belt buckles. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Tony's
Tony,
awesome,
obviously,
man.
Tony's an English guy living in Spain
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Isn't he?
Yeah. I know a lot of guys that live around you. Yeah, we got a lot of friends out in your area, but Tony's an awesome dude. I've known Tony. Him and I have talked for quite some time online. He's very talented, engraving, his castings.
His casting's insane.
Yeah.
I keep trying to get him on my podcast, but he's so busy.
Yeah, well, tell him to put the files down and the engravers down, and he'll go a day without black boogers.
Yeah, it's crazy because like where I believe roughly where he lives is about 3 hour drive from where I grew, because I'm in England now. I'm born in England, but I grew up on the south coast of Spain. So I was like 3 hours drive further down the coast to where Tony is. But no, I mean, obviously his work is everywhere. It's and it's similar to like what Tony does. Like recently I saw a post of a bike, and someone had taken a picture of their bike that they were building or they'd finished building or whatever it is. I can't remember, but one of the focal points was the Motorhead with
you talking about the air cleaner.
Yeah. One of the focal points of the picture was one of Tony's pieces, and I straight away I knew it was Tony's piece. So I put a comment underneath saying, that's I put Tony, is this what at Tony the Engraver 2, is this one of yours? And he was like straight away, it's like, yeah, you can pretty much tell Tony's work, same like you guys. Once you got the craft nailed down and your style, you can't really replicate someone else's style, really. You can try to, but yeah. So he's a cool guy as well. But
it's really easy though, man. You just say thank you, man.
Yeah,
it's really easy.
Yeah, be gracious and say thank you.
If somebody builds a part for you, or you go to a shop and they build something for you, and you put it on your bike, and you just say thank you. That's it. You don't have to take credit for it, and the shop doesn't really care about the credit for it, but just say thank you, man. It's a nice gesture, right?
It's like we have to have DL Cycle Fab. Something is same thing if you take inspiration from other people's builds or give them credit for it goes a long way.
DL doesn't know shit though, bro.
Yeah, DL, man, that guy. No, we love DL, man. We've been talking to Dom for a few years now. We used to do a lot of live feeds from our shop, and Dom. I don't think Dom missed one. He was always there, and we've become pretty good friends over the years. We've never met in person. Kind of a lot like Pete Pearson. From Rocket Bobs. Pete and I have talked we talked for 10 plus years online, and basically stroking each other off for 10 years, and then finally he was out in Vegas for the Artistry and Iron. And I was like, man, I'm going to go out there and see him. And so I went out there and hung out and got to meet him for the first time. And it was awesome. I got to hang out with him and all his crew and met with all his friends and had a blast. It was just awesome seeing him. And it's the same thing with Dom. I mean, at some point we're going to run into him and see him. We just did that. We just did that at the Cycle Showcase show with
River City.
With River City and with Brian and Joel Knucklehead. Joel from Backbone Built Bikes. We've been building products in Springer front ends for Joel with his builds for years, and we've never met. We've only talked on the phone. And then he was at Cycle Showcase, so we finally, got to hang out and spend some time, and it was awesome. And then Brian from River City as well. Brian builds a lot of tall neck D-rake bikes, and him and I have talked for years, and we honestly we barely ever talk about bikes. We talk more about fishing because we're into fishing a lot out here. And so,
cool,
but Brian was at the show too, so we got to see Brian and talk to Brian. And you go to these shows, and these shows sometimes are, it's cool to show the bike, but honestly, a lot of the time you're just going to hang out with your friends, because that's kind of really what it is. It's just an excuse to go hang out with your friends. So, but I'm sure at some point we'll meet up with Dom and get to do the bro hug and talk. But Dom's a good guy, man. Very knowledgeable. He knows his stuff. He's trying to, he's been running a shop and trying to stay busy, just like all of us. Just hustling to try to make a buck.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's like, it's crazy when people are in truly passionate about the same stuff, be it building bikes and just like wanting to share the love for the for like-minded people. And like you said, not because you're not a person to want to claim credit for something. You don't have that bitterness inside you. You just want to reach out to people, and really in the long run you create a bigger friendship, a bigger connection. And like you said, people that are wanting to claim to cut corners, they only stay within a small circle, and it's incredible. It is incredible.
What happens is those people usually don't have any ideas, and once their ideas run out or coming up with other people's stuff runs out, guess what? They go away, and so that's what ends up happening. And we've been, this is our 20th year this year of being in business, and we've seen a lot of companies come and a lot of companies go, and it's crazy to see how the industry has changed in the last 20 years, and where it's headed, who knows. But it's
that's Europe has a big custom bike culture. Bigger than here even, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I can only talk on. I don't have a great amount of knowledge. I'm just a massive fan and love the scene in general. But I know, like, for example, in the UK, it's quite lenient in the respect that you can hardtail a frame and you can chop things up. Whereas, for example, living in Spain, you're not allowed to take a softtail frame and convert it into a hardtail. You're not allowed to. If there are ways around certain things. There are certain things you can push.
That sounds like Germany too.
Yeah, well,
Germany's tough.
Yeah.
Well, when you're local, it's different than when you're not local. So, like, if you like where you live, you live there and you have rules for what you can do and don't. But like for us to try to do something for Europe creates a whole nother headache. We actually
Really?
You want to tell them the story about that?
Yeah, we have a guy that bought a bike from us. It took us 5 years to figure out how were we going to get the bike into Germany.
Yeah.
What were the steps that we had to go through? So one of the guys lives in Germany. The other guy is a big time movie producer here in the States. So I would have conversations with that guy, and you have to get around the TÜV, basically TUV, right?
TÜV.
So
Yep.
you have to get around them, and you don't get around them, but you got to go through their list of things that you need. Well, you can't really get that list. So one day they're opening a new headquarters in Munich, and that's where this guy lives. And they have a barbecue, and the guy that's the movie producer and the guy that owns the bike go to this barbecue, and they meet with the head of that organization. He gives them a list of things, and he says, "Here, this is all you need right here." And so we got this list of things, and we went over it, and we were like, man, the biggest thing is it can only be 80 decibels at 2,000 RPMs.
Mm-hmm.
And they test you with a microphone. And so we got a big, giant super trap header and put a bunch of the silencers on the end. And that bike that we built sounded like a Suzuki.
It sounded like a Ducati.
It sounded like a Ducati, real quiet.
Very quiet, but kind of a sport bike-ish
hum. But he went down and got it titled and sent us pictures of the license plate, and it's titled. And then about 4 years later, another bike we built showed up in Germany, and that guy got it titled too. Yeah. So we've got bikes in Germany, we've got bikes in Germany, we got bikes in Kuwait, we got bikes in Mexico, we've got bikes in. We're doing a frame for a guy in Saudi Arabia right now. So I mean, we've got stuff all over the world, man. It's kind of cool. A couple of douchebags from Fort Worth building parts. I mean, we're always sending Springer parts over to Finland or Norway
Yeah.
or, you know, anywhere
Yeah.
you can. In fact, we just got a really cool picture from a guy
Just
that-
now.
just now that
Yeah.
we just sent him this wishbone kit for his front end. And, I mean, it changed his whole bike, man. And that guy, where is he from? Is that the Finland guy? We're constantly selling stuff
Yeah.
to England, to Europe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it, innit? Like you said, being the fact that obviously you stayed humble from the beginning, you know, you've not claimed, you've not, no bullshit, you haven't faked anything, and the fact is people, it might take longer because you're not pretending to do something and grabbing onto something that's not yours, but you know, like we said earlier, it just creates a longevity. You know, it's, do you know what I mean? Like for example, with some of my podcasts, I could have titled them in a different manner due to the people that I spoke to, and it might have created what they call now clickbait, and people would have clicked on it. But the reality is I wouldn't be able to interview another guy that's very similar in the industry he's in. You know, so it's okay. It might take me longer to kind of do what I'm doing, but people seem to appreciate it more because I'm not trying to hype it up, and you know, I don't say, oh yeah, jump on my podcast, you're gonna get 100,000 views and
Right.
followers, and
Right.
because it's just not true. You know, I just try to keep it as honest as I can. And
Well,
like earlier when I interrupted you and said, oh, what's a 4/5? You know, it's I just keep it honest. You know.
Well, and the other thing you have to realize too is you're looking at 3-2 choppers. This is it.
No, just us.
We
two.
don't have employees. There's nobody here that's building exhaust pipes or handlebars. When it comes from 3-2 choppers, we built it.
Mhm.
It's not
That's
a
awesome.
it's not a I've got 10 employees in the back doing shit. It's we built it, so it takes time.
Yeah.
We've had plenty of these types of interviews with TV companies that are like, hey, we want to do a show about your shop, and let's film a pilot, and let's film this, and let's get a Skype going so we can get to know you. We can do a TV show, and the biggest problem is, how the hell would we ever build a bike every week? I mean, there's just no way, bro.
Yeah.
There's
No.
no way. Like one series of that show could be about one bike because of what we do with building the tank and building the frame and building the front end and building everything. And so you start thinking about, well, how the hell would you ever do a bike every week? There's just no possible way, man. Not in reality.
And it's like how you guys like are on your own doing it, and people from all over the world are wanting to buy your parts. It's kind of like the same. Like you guys are flat out with work, and you probably know some, like you said, you know, people that are movie producers, and then all of a sudden you want to sit and talk to somebody that's nicked his son's microphone, got a webcam sellotaped to a light, and it's I know they're two different things, but it's like I almost feel like because we're kind of both on the same humble path
Perfect, man.
of what do you know what I mean? Like,
It's
I mean,
passion.
I've been so lucky so far. I mean, I started doing podcasts in September, and this is my 32nd podcast already. And I've interviewed some incredible guys, you know.
Wait. Did you just say this is your 32nd podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So-
that's why we're 3-2
You
choppers.
see the shirt, man?
That's what I mean. It's like
32.
it's fucking crazy, isn't it? You know, I mean, and this is like I
That's
said,
fucking nuts.
do you
Wait
know
a
what I
minute.
mean? Like it's crazy. It's like
fucking nuts,
it's your
man.
20th year, and it's my 32nd podcast, and it's like my first tattoo on my stomach is I got a 7 in one spanner and a 13 in the other, and like I was 18 when I had it done. And I know I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but like people used to ask me, oh, why have you got 13 and 7? And I would say like, well, how do you know if you're lucky if you've never been unlucky? And then 16 years later, I've experienced being, 32. So 14 years later, I've experienced ups and downs and craziness. It's my missus opening the door, sticking her middle finger up at me. But it's crazy to say, like,
Well, at least she's
things
not
happen for
flashing her
reasons.
boobs at you.
Oh, she does that sometimes.
Well, there's
She does
nothing wrong with that.
sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that either. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, like how it's almost like it's almost like the unit. You know, I don't necessarily want to say I believe in all that, but it's almost like there's like it was meant to be like 30-second podcast. Like, you know, I don't know.
Or we
I'm
get
not
it.
always.
We get it, man. That's why we are 32 choppers, because we noticed early on that the numbers 32 in different forms show up in the oddest ways, whether it's 222 or 32. It became
Can you see my?
it became almost
You can't see my tattoo.
no,
can
you got to get sideways.
Can you see
Yeah,
my
see that
tattoo?
too?
Oh wow, man. Yeah.
Yeah. The it's just become it's
The
it's
222 means you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
yeah, biblically.
So you
That's
guys
what-
you guys obviously believe in the meaning of numbers then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just
So I
weird
got-
how it's just weird how the numbers have appeared like that, man. I mean,
So I got
you know-
got one for you then. For about, sorry to interrupt you there. For about
No, you're good.
for about 10 years, I randomly keep seeing, and it only happens on obviously on a digital way to tell, you know, on a 24-hour clock. I see 0911, and I started diving into it a couple of years ago. On, you know, I started googling it, and it just started getting a bit dark and a bit weird, and but it honestly it can happen. It can happen like for me, the reason of having 7 and 13 is obviously 7 is I deem it a lucky number, 13 is an unlucky number, and obviously the meaning was you simply don't know if you're lucky if you've never experienced the other, and then like I said, 14 years later, I've kind of experienced ups and downs, like high ups and downs in life, and you know, numbers are, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I respect it.
Just the fact that your 30-second podcast is with 32 choppers is all you really need to know.
Yeah. Well,
And
you
I'm
know,
32 years old.
yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people experience that with the numbers 1111, right? That
I've heard
a lot
that
of
one.
people.
Yeah.
A lot of people see 1111 and they're like, man, it's 1111, or they see 111, or you know, so that's kind of their numbers. But yeah, for us, I mean, we named our company in 2004, and we never wanted to be 32 choppers. We wanted to be 32. So our early logo was 32 choppers, and then as the time went on, we kind of started building the 3 and the 2 in, you know, the numbers. But you know, our mom died in 2008, and you know, 4 years after we had started the company, and after she had passed, you know, we were back at her house kind of going through things, and we actually stumbled across a photo when he was 10 and I was about 6, and we're in the photo. I think we got our fingers up, you know, like this, and we're both wearing 32 jerseys. It's actually on our website. If you go to our website, shameless plug, www.32choppers.com, all spelled out. You like that shameless plug?
No, mate. You plug away, man. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
But anyways, if you go to that and hit the About Us, that picture comes up, and it tells the story really about 32 and how it came about. Like, my kid was born, and you know, my wife pushes my kid out, and the doctor's holding my baby, and his arm is between his legs, and I can't tell if he's a boy or a girl. And I'm like, finally, I was like, move your fucking arm. And so he moves his arm. I was like, it's a boy. And the doctor goes, mark the time, 8:32. He was born at 8:32. It's like, whoa,
Wow.
whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, it's just weird shit, man. Weird shit.
My missus went into labor with my oldest son on Friday the 13th, and I wanted him to be born on Friday the 13th. She held on, and she held on till 1 minute to 1 on Saturday the 14th. I was like, no, you know.
That's
and it's
funny.
not that I preach the devil or anything. It's just that I think, you know, for me, like 666 is obviously bikes are somewhat. A few people have asked me, like, I mean, a few people I believe that are more so massively more towards believing in God and things like that. I mean, you know, I personally don't believe, but I have my reasons why I don't believe. But for me, the 666 it's the rock and roll rebelness, like the menace to society. That's I'm not here to preach the devil by any means, but you know, that was kind of, for me, I just think it sounds cool, and I think that it's a rock and roll rebellious middle finger to society type of mindset, you know.
Yeah.
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 Just
Yeah,
because the world we live in is fucked up.
It's definitely gotten crazy. There's
no
no
politics,
doubt,
man.
no doubt about that. Definitely. Well,
No.
and really, and not talking about the political side of things on that. It's just, you know, it's made the business environment very, very difficult, you know, and you know, so we you know, we talked about being in 2008 with all the you know the housing crash and the stock market crash. You know, we were busy. Why or how? I'm not sure, but you know, but it's been very challenging.
We were
even
busy through COVID.
Yeah, we were busy through COVID, and you know, I think a lot of people were busy through COVID because people were sitting at home bored, and so you know
Yeah.
they got in their garage and started working on their bikes, and they wanted parts. So we got real busy during COVID, but you know, it's been economy has posed challenges. You know, when you are working in an environment where discretionary spending has dropped, you know, we get hit in that. You know, we rely on discretionary spending. That's what our business is about. We're not a necessity. You know, we're not your hair or your makeup or your food or you know or your beer. You know, we're just a, you know, what we do isn't really a necessity. So you know, we take hits in times like this. So you know, trying to hustle and stay busy and work and you know, keep coming up with fresh ideas and fresh things to make parts and sell parts and all that kind of stuff, man. It's you know, it's definitely over the years has posed you know, a lot of challenges, but you know, we just keep moving forward and we just keep doing what we do, and you know, we kind of carve our own path and do what we want to do, and you know, hopefully we'll keep selling our parts and still, you know, keep building bikes and keep doing what we're doing because we love it. You know, we've been doing it a long time now, so.
Well, that's it, and like you know, like you said earlier, like staying true to your style and just keep chipping away and being humble, and it really does. It clearly has shown that it works. You know, you haven't survived 20 years out of luck and gone through recessions and you know, and COVID and things like that. It's so like a question I have, like you know, when you guys first started, and did you feel that there was something unexplainable about what you believed you was going to achieve with your company? Like you didn't know how or why. Like for example, for me, like I'm saying to my missus, like, so before doing this social media stuff, and I mean, I've always kind of grown up around bikes and tinkering, and that, again, I'm not a mechanic or a fabricator by any means. I attempt it. But like I love tattooing, and I started tattooing, and I had the thoughts of that I was going to achieve something big with it, but it was never unexplainable. Like with what I have here with my whole 666 and my podcast. I mean, I set up 666 Customs because I wanted to create a platform where people could see me fabricating my stuff with no fucks given. The podcast happened to just come about, but like now I believe that it has something to become something big, meaning the podcast. And when people say to me, like, what is it you think that it is? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel that I think because I'm connecting with people on for the right reasons. Like I literally message when I see something that looks cool, and I message people. Some people reply, some people don't, but there's no like, oh, I've got to look for somebody that has X amount of followers. I mean, you know, I've done podcasts with people that have 100 followers, and for me, I just appreciate that someone wants to take the time. And I think that, I don't know, like, and what's crazy is when I listen back and edit my podcast, I think, how the fuck do people want to sit and listen to me? I just sound like a mumbling baboon, you know?
I wouldn't be that hard on you, man.
Yeah, you know,
it's passion, bro.
Yeah,
It's passion.
Yeah, it's excitement and
yeah, it's passion and excitement. You know, I was telling you, we interviewed to do TV shows and stuff, and we never gave a shit about being on TV. The biggest thing we were excited about was to sell 3,000 T-shirts a week, man.
Yeah, right.
Let's sell 3,000 T-shirts a week, and then let's see what we can do with that kind of financial role that we can really do some cool shit, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't give a shit about being on TV. I don't give a fuck about TV, bro. I don't want to be on TV. And I mean, there's perks with that, but I was more excited about when we signed the contract with the TV company, they only take 10% of the revenue of the marketing. And so like that you sell, like we quit selling t-shirts years ago. We give them away now. But at
Wow.
the time they
No,
were like,
you can't have one.
we were gonna
not you. I'm talking to people watching, all 4 of them.
we were more excited about selling 3,000 t-shirts a week and lunch boxes and, you know, stupid shit like that would have 3-2 chopper stuff on it. Not to be on TV. The passion's always there. We come in the morning on our days off to get a bike started. I mean, we've been doing it for 20 years. If you're not passionate about what you do after 20 years, get the fuck out, man. I mean, seriously.
You know, and that's it. It's like you said, if you're not passionate, I mean, when you do have a bad day, that's the day you want to chuck the towel in, because it's like, is it worth it? I mean, you know, like you said, the passion, I believe that, like, and I'm learning this with what I'm doing. Sorry to kind of butt in there, but like, I noticed that, for example, I can do a podcast and there could be literally nobody watching it live, and it might have maybe 30 views. And that's where I believe that the passion comes in. I think that when you're vibing on a high frequency, when you're like killing it in what you're doing, you're too busy in that moment to kind of see the passion. If that's how I feel for me, you know, like, I think passion comes in on the day where it's like, you know, God, this is hard, you know.
And you have to learn from that day. I can't tell you how many times we leave the shop and we don't ever have a bad day in the shop. We just don't get as much accomplished as we wanted to. Mm-hmm. But I can't tell you how many times I come in and I go home at night and I'm laying in bed and I solve problems laying in bed, and I come in the next morning and I go, man, I was thinking about XYZ and I think we should try this. And he'll be like, I was thinking about the same thing. Like, what are we missing that we get the blinders on and you only think in one direction. You go home and get out of the environment, and then you're sitting in bed and you go, oh, I got it, man. I know what the problem is, or we need to try this, or if we do this first, this will work, or, you know, something like that. We solve so many problems away from the shop, and it's because we're constantly thinking about the shop is just the media for us to get it done. The thought process is 24 hours a day. Where do you get inspiration? A guy delivered an argon tank the other day, and the argon tank was a grayish blue with some white scratches and a kind of flat red cap. And I took a picture of it and I was showing him. I go, dude, look at that paint scheme right there. And he's like, holy fuck. Like, if you're not open to that, if your passion isn't that you see shit everywhere, then get out, go do something else, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. It's like you say, I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to be on TV, man. I wanted to
Did
be
ya?
on TV because I wanted to go to Sizzler, Daddy. I wanted to go get some steak at Sizzler.
So you guys have what TV you did a TV program then, obviously?
No, we were in talks with there was a group that was doing a show out of California, and it was the production company was the same guys that did Duck Dynasty. And so we were in talks with them, and they came down and filmed us for about 3 days, and they put a little pilot together. And
Eric Harryman.
They pitched it to Discovery Channel, and they went into final contracts, and they had 49 days to figure out the production series and blah, 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 blah. And on like the 48th day, Discovery Channel said they wanted to shoot some episodes and then put it in the can and basically hold on to it. And our production company didn't want to wait. They wanted to put it out right away. And so it just never happened, but whatever, man. I mean, it was
just
fun.
Yeah.
We watched it, and I remember watching it the first time we watched it. It was about 8 minutes long, little thing they shot. And I turned to my brother, I was like,
I actually posted it. It's on our Instagram account. You'll have to scroll through, but it's on the account, and you can watch it in its entirety. I actually posted it on Instagram.
It was good, man.
Awesome.
At the time that was what reality shows were, it was good, you know.
Yeah.
And we were like, shit, man, there's a real chance here, and it was cool. But I kind of looked at it and I was like, man, I didn't realize our shop was that cool. Right? I mean, in 8 minutes, they made us look really cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, holy shit.
And you know what? And that's the thing, like with the podcast, like most of the guys that I have on after, like generally people ask, like I believe you guys asked, like how long roughly does it, you know, do we go on for? And like I say, we go until you guys have had enough. And then some people, when I say, well, the quickest one I had was like 45 minutes. The average is about 1 hour and 20. And a lot of people go, do you know what? I don't know if I can sit for 1 hour and 20. And I say to them, like, you see, we'll see, you know. And then once the live's finished, and obviously we're still talking at the end of the live stream, and a lot of people go like, do you know what? I didn't realize I achieved that much. You know, like just like you saying, looking back at your shop on a screen, you guys are there to every day, like, you know, doing what you've got to do. It doesn't, and it's humble. It's like, for me, it's incredible. So like, I just get excited at the idea that I'm able to talk to some dudes from Texas, like in Texas. I've never been to America. You know, it really excites me. You know.
Well, we talk about that a lot more lately than we did in the beginning. But you know, as a company, we've built quite a few bikes, and we've got a lot of bikes out there that we built, and
in the shop we have a lot of cool shit in here, like stuff that we take for granted every day. But when you get guys that come in, like we have some friends, and they'll bring a buddy, and that buddy will walk around the shop and kind of look around, and you can see him just get mesmerized by a shelf. And there's just stuff on the shelf that's cut spacers and brass pieces and all this stuff from years and years of fabrication that you go, man, don't throw that away. We might need that someday.
Yeah, man.
I got a shelf.
He's talking about this shelf right here.
Look at that shelf, man.
That shelf right there.
Oh, wow.
There's so much shit going on that shelf right there. And people will come in and stare at it for hours, just standing there looking at it, man. Yeah. And there's shit like that all over this shop.
It's really funny because I was talking to my brother this morning, and I was like, man, we got to, you know, the vacuum on the carburetor, we got to clog that up. And I was like, man, I saw something, you know, I saw the deal that clogs that. I know it's around here somewhere. And then I'm just sitting here talking to you, and boop, there it is. I knew I saw him there, right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a good place for him right there. That's a good place for him right there. So, but yeah,
I mean,
man,
and that's it, isn't it? You know, it's like little things, you know, like you don't even know that they're going to be meant for something in the future, but you just can't throw it away. You know, it's,
yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky that I got that friend. I got one friend like that, and he's just got a garden yard full of bikes and parts, and I'll go around there and I'm like, oh, what are you doing with that? And it's like kind of how I got my hands on my ZX. I mean, I attempted my first kind of like fabrication video today. When I say fabrication, I had to weld some tabs on the back of my subframe on my ZX10, and like I did a bit of editing, and it was like 1:20, like a real size, so 1:29 seconds, and I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm honest about it. I say in the video, I'm like, look, I'm gonna have a go. I mean, I fabricated the whole subframe 6 years ago, and it's with, apart from these tabs that hold the seat in place, I mean, it just kind of locates it in place. It's not actually holding the seat on. They cracked and came off, but I re-welded them today, trying not to destroy the paint job. And
that's impossible.
Oh, mate, I just kept literally tack it, grab a sponge straight on to try and stop it from bubbling, and it just kept going like that, and then today I edited it, and I got a slow motion bit of the weld, and cinematically I thought, this looks incredible, and I just, do you know what I mean? Just, yeah. But like I fabricate things. I mean, I built a whole exhaust frame for my 125 bobber out of a bed frame. It's kind of really what I wanted. Like at the end of the day, for somebody like me to come to YouTube and social media, I'm honest in the respect that I know I don't have the ability to fabricate to the same standard as people like you. But what I have is I have the ability to be humble and to look in my garden and dig things out the ground and try and make it look like something, and people appreciate that. So I just think, well, if that's what I got, that's what I got, And
yeah, no, I totally get it. There's a level of quality that we didn't have when we first started. I mean, we thought we did, but as the years have gone on, we've really honed what we've done. And just in our craft and our parts, even hand built parts. We don't have fancy CNC machines here. We do have a manual mill and a manual lathe, but we don't have all the CNC mills and the 5-axis and all that. But a lot of parts we do here, we build by hand. If we need the precision, we have machine shops that we work with, and we get the precision that way. What we'll do is we'll design the parts. I told you earlier, my brother does all the CAD. And so we'll design the parts, and then we'll have them cut. And sometimes we have to think through how those tolerances work, or, sometimes when you're cutting, you don't get the precision of size holes. So you undersize, and then you have to come in and drill and get to the right size, or put on the mill and stuff. So, but we've really, over the 20 years, we've just honed our craft. We know it's acceptable for ourselves, and we know it works. There's a lot of other great builders in the industry. There's guys that do shit that's just incredible, and watching them build and watching their products and watching their bikes, it's awesome to see. And what we found is we're good at what we do. That's where our craft shines. We're good at what we do. I'm not great at what you do. I'm not great at what another builder does. I'm not great at another guy what he does, but we're great at what we do. And so when we think and we come up with ideas, we always tend to work towards our strengths, and that's kind of how we build and design. So, my brother had mentioned earlier, we build bikes you have to be able to ride. You can't sell a bike to a customer that doesn't ride and run. Because I'll tell you, anytime, and the other thing too is we tend to over-engineer a lot of stuff, because, customers ride bikes, and if you don't over-engineer, you'll get a call at 10 o'clock at night, and your customers don't call you because they want to talk to you and see how you're doing. They call you because they have a problem. And that's what ends up happening is so, when you get a phone call from a customer, it's like, ugh, but they have a problem. And that's the other thing that's kept us in business is we always take the calls. If we're delayed on a part, we always have the hard talks. If we're having problems, we always communicate. And it's just kind of the way we've decided to do business. Sometimes you got to have that hard talk with your customer. They might not like it. You might not like it, but at least they know where you are, honestly. And there's no guessing. They don't have to go, I didn't hear from that fucker for, 6 weeks. No, you heard from me. We talked about it. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm just having some issues because I'm having vendor issues, or I'm having supply issues, or I can't get my hands on a part, or whatever the issue is. But the biggest thing we've always done over the 20 years is we always communicate with our customers, whether it's good or bad. It's the tough talks that you have to have with your customers to basically let your customers appreciate down the line what you offered them when that was happening. And I'm not saying that we've been without problems. We've had some problems, of course. Every business does, especially when you're hand building shit. So, but the key is how you handle those problems. It's the communication, and we're big on communication, man. Communication in this business, and probably all businesses of life, communication goes a long way. I don't care, like if I order a part from somebody and I'm waiting for it, if they can't supply it, just communicate with me. But don't take my money and then know you can't produce it, and then we have a problem. And that's the biggest thing. So communication is really, it goes a long way with what we've done. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been real successful in business, is because, I'd like to think we have a pretty good, word of mouth business going on, and a pretty good reputation of what we do. And if we don't, send us some hate mail.
And to be honest, like generally the people I've spoken to that are in like-minded industry, like building bikes, for example, generally speaking, most of the guys are telling me, they're like, Josh, look, most of our builds are from they're not off the internet. They're not someone's reached out on Instagram or Facebook. Like, it's that they've seen a bike at a show, or their friends had a bike built. Yeah. And all of a sudden, so basically the point I'm making, and regardless of how advanced technology is becoming and social media and advertising, it still doesn't seem to beat the whole word of mouth, like recommendations. Like, So, people seem to think that you get all these adverts on social media, oh, buy my program and I'm going to get you this amount of followers and do this for you. But you're like, are you really going to do that though? It's like, at the end of the day, yes, okay, you're on the other side of the world, but we're still fundamentally doing the old fashioned thing of talking, Well,
and that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. I mean, a lot of the times people don't know what's behind a company until they hear from them and get to actually meet who they are and, what kind of personalities are there and are they and how personable are they and, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of really, that's why these podcasts, I think they help us too, because a lot of people don't know who we are. I mean, there's a lot of people that have heard about us and heard about 3-2 Choppers, but they don't know who we are. And so
we're pretty too. Look at us, man.
He's pretty. I'm not. It's kind of the way of breaking the ice and letting people know who we are as people as well. Not just, here's the bike, here's the bike, here's the bike, here's the bike. So, we go through the same trials and tribulations as anybody in this world. It's just one of the things we've gotten very good at is we think through our problems here in the shop. Before we attempt stuff, we think through things, and that thinking is ideas bouncing off each other. That's kind of how we get through things. And sometimes we fight. I mean, we don't like punch and fight, but we'll get verbal with each other, and then we'll laugh because we'll realize that he's looking at it, this direction and seeing it this way and this way. And I'm looking at it this direction, looking at it this way and this way. We're saying the same fucking thing. We're just looking at it from opposite sides. Right. And so over the years, we've come to realize when we start disagreeing that we're really saying the exact same thing. We're just looking at it from
bigger. No, it's smaller. No, it's bigger. No. Well, what are you saying is bigger?
Yeah.
This piece. No, I know that's bigger. This is smaller.
Go towards the front. No, it's on the back. No, look on the bike. It's on the front. Yeah. It's where the front wheel is, not the back. Yeah. It's stupid shit like that. We laugh, man. It's so funny. Hey, listen, I actually have got to go. I have got an appointment at 3:15 that I've got to keep today. So
you're no worries,
I've got to bug out. Jimmy, we can talk to you or not, but actually, it's on my phone.
Yeah, no, mate. I mean, we've had a good hour and 15 minutes anyway. It's incredible. It's been awesome to, and like you can proper tell that you're like brothers as well. Like it's like just like this natural. You can kind of see like this natural banter between you both. Like it's like you know what I mean. It's something that generally, like. I don't know. It's fucking awesome.
We've been dating a long time.
Yeah. We spend a lot of hours with each other. There's just no reach around.
Yeah.
And if there is, we're not telling.
And not as far as anybody knows.
Fucking love it.
It's funny. Well, man, hey, thanks so much for having us on, man.
It's been all, and like, just for the fact that you can see how 20 years of work and flat out with the work, you can see it all over your social media. And just for you guys to take the time to sit down and kind of tell a bit of your story, it's been cool, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for thinking of us and having us on. It's sometimes nice to sit here and kind of reminisce and talk about, all the years and what we've been through.
Exactly.
It's kind of crazy to think about how long it's been and what we've been doing.
We jumped some steps.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. Otherwise we'd be here all day and all night.
Yeah.
So for people, so for people that want to order some parts, you have your website, which is www.32choppers.com. Yeah. And then,
and we also have www.32choppers.com. That's actually where you order our parts. So we have a big cartel site that's the numbers 32 and then choppers. But that's all set up for US stuff. If you're overseas and want to buy parts, you've got to just contact us. Just send us an email and then reach out to us, because it's the way the big cartel doesn't let us set up international shipping. So, but we ship all over the world. I mean, we've been doing it a long time.
Like you said earlier, you ship all over the world. You've got parts everywhere and bikes, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah. It's been we've been very blessed, and We've been very blessed in life and what we're doing here in the shop, and hopefully we can be around for at least another half a year or so.
That's not very long, man. You've got to be going longer than that.
I'm just kidding. Oh my god, I'm just kidding.
But,
yeah, hopefully we can
mate,
stick around and
awesome.
retire doing this. We'll see.
And hopefully I can get my thing to a level where I can travel the world with it, and then I'll be banging on the door and be like, "Who's that? That's that irritating bastard we had to listen to for an hour and 20 minutes."
Now that we've talked, we'll stay in touch, and then in 10 years maybe we'll build up a relationship, and then we'll meet and we can bro hug.
No reach around.
With the reach around.
Oh, damn
No.
it, man. All right, man. We'll have to wait.
I'm not that guy.
We'll have to wait for 11 years then. We just don't tell your wife. All right,
Righto,
man.
guys.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
again.
You. Appreciate it, man. Peace out.